So we say that leadership used to be about stability and certainty. Now it's about leading through uncertainty. Anyone who says, I'm happy in my business, I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing, I'm not saying they're a fool, but I'm saying watch out. Because as soon as you're comfortable, you're at your most vulnerable. And we all know that from our personal life. You've got to constantly keep an eye. And this is where we bring in the risk and issue analysis, proactive environmental scanning skills to the students. And we also emphasize that you can be a great leader, you can have a great reputation, but your business can still die. Because it's got to be innovative. Look at Olivetti. Remember Olivetti typewriters? Some of us are just about old enough to remember using typewriters. Olivetti was the world's leader. Within 3 years, with the new little PCs that came along, they were finished. My country was very proud of Encyclopedia Britannica, the world's greatest encyclopedia. Within 3.5 years, Wikipedia had destroyed it. It had a good reputation, it had leadership, but it didn't innovate. I can give you hundreds of other examples. This is what we need to teach our students, and this is what we try and teach our students. We teach them about adaptability, experimenting, networking, and the fact that you've got to keep your brand essentially pretty much resilient. We also question, by the way, the American business model, which has predominated the business world for years. It's worked, it still works, but now you have new business models. And one of the things I've introduced in the EU campus in London is a special seminar just on business models. Not many MBAs, and I've taught on quite a few MBAs in many parts. I've taught at the State University in Moscow, I've taught in the MBA there. They talk about business models, but they don't actually go into them in great detail. And that's something that we do. We look at new business models, especially the online business models. And we look at business models such as, I mean, there's the Spanish brand, isn't there? What's it called? Zara? Here. Very famous. Interesting business model. How it runs its logistics. Skype is a fascinating business model. Ryanair is an interesting business model. Amazon is a most fascinating business model. Dell has an even more fascinating business model. And there are many other examples. How does your business model affect your reputation, and how does it relate to leadership? We look at these issues. We also explain that leadership as a concept, it can't be understood in a simplistic way. It's what, this is an unusual word in English, consilience. It's a very unusual word. Most people who are totally fluent in English would not have come across the word consilient, but it means a jumping together of ideas. So what we're saying is that you can't divorce leadership from crisis management. Leadership is in the moment. It's connected with crisis management. You can have a first-rate, first-class BBA, MBA student, 4 years later, give them a crisis, they panic. Complete waste of time. What's your character? You can be taught to keep cool. You can be taught to stay calm. These are the sorts of things through scenario planning, giving them possible, plausible futures where they can react, putting them in little experiments, seeing how they respond. This is how you see. If a student freaks out in a practice, you say, look, if that's going to be the case in the real world, you're not going to survive. That's what they need. They need a dose of reality. So we emphasize things like putting them through crisis management tests, which are often a true test of leadership. And we link it up with risk and issue management, innovation, change management, although you can't technically manage change or reputation, you can only direct or guide them. The terms are slight misnomers. And we link it, of course, with entrepreneurship, which is a specific type of leadership, as is brand management. All brands, whether they be corporate brands or product brands or line brands, someone has to have the vision and passion to lead them. And Dr. Crane was saying earlier about family-led businesses. 50% of the world's economy is family-run businesses. And they're often better led. Just to go back 1 second, under brand management, for example, I mean, we do give we give students a lot of emphasis on certain things, such as, I mean, Gap. I don't know if you've seen the news recently. Gap, they've done a new logo. Everyone's gone mad. The social media, they've now reversed it. You know, there are so many examples of poor leadership or poor innovation in certain brands. We look at these sorts of things. I mean, we explore the fact that, you know, even brand management has to be very, very carefully led. Someone has to have the vision, the passion. Someone has to understand where this brand is going. Thank you. We also explain to students about the fact that with leadership, you've got to be prepared to break the status quo. You've got to fear the steady state. As I said earlier, if you're comfortable, get out. That's not how you should be. We don't say to students, be nervous, you can't do it, that's obvious. What we're saying is, you should be constantly slightly agitated and aware of something coming. And that way, you will keep a competitive advantage because it'll keep you agile, it'll keep you adaptive. It's so easy just to sit back and think you've succeeded. We also explain to them I mean, a lot of business is about conquering fear, isn't it? Your fear. I mean, all you have to do is, I don't know, read the Bible. The Bible is a constant reminder of fear not. Most people don't achieve things because they fear them. They fear failure, or more importantly, they fear being blamed. Once you've got over that element of fear, you also have to get over something else, which certainly in my country we're increasingly suffering from, and that is procrastination. Doing nothing, waiting until someone else does something. Procrastination is one of the biggest killers in the success of any entrepreneur. Most people who are not successful, I don't know how you define that, you'll generally find, I would say 70% of the time, they suffer from the issue of procrastination. They fail to act. Not because they don't want to, because they fear the consequences. And this is no good in leadership. We also look at the concept of influence. I said earlier that influence is now more important than power. Power has a slightly pejorative connotation. Maybe it shouldn't. But influence is probably a more subtle term. How you influence. Now, give me 5 minutes and I can't influence people. It's very difficult. Give me an hour, I can influence them. I need time, some people, but sometimes you only get 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You have to learn how to influence people quickly. And leadership is ultimately about influence. Thank you. We also talk to the students about something called open source collaboration, which I've been very interested in. It's Procter & Gamble, of course, have been the leaders of this, and Larry Hudson, I've never met him, but I've read a lot of his stuff. He was the Knowledge and Innovation Vice President of Procter & Gamble. He wrote quite a lot in the Harvard Business Review over the years and all sorts of other corporate journals. And he famously said, the invent-it-yourself innovation model is broken. He's probably right. You've got millions of people on the internet. Procter & Gamble now are opening their innovation to you. You want a toothpaste? How do you want it? Do you like the flavor? Do you have a problem with its design? Do you have a problem with your toothbrush? Make suggestions. If we like it, we'll make it. I mean, who else has been doing it? Lego have been doing it for years. So this is a different type of leadership. What you're saying is, I'm opening up to you. You give me your ideas because the wisdom of the masses is generally better than closed-sourced adaptation, and we'll make it. And therefore, we link leadership with social media. because leadership cannot exist now in the absence of social media.